Then you also remember Gabe Merkin, right?
Yes.
And I knew Gabe quite well for when he was around, and he talks and he says this is his comment. And you remember Gabe Merkin is the first guy that ever came out that I know of that was against fen-phen for weight loss because it caused heart attacks, right?
Right.
And he also was the very first person to, what was it? He did the whatever the bacteria is that causes ulcers.
Mm-hmm.
And he was pushing that for like 15, 20 years.
Yeah, you're talking about hydrochloric acid, which is the natural medium of your stomach.
Right. But he was saying that the bacteria, and you could cure it, and he was curing it with the, you know what I mean.
What was E. pylori that is the...
H. pylori.
What's the name of those
H.
fancy
pylori.
things that got invented by Banting, but not Banting the Best, but the guy...
You're talking about vitamin C?
No.
Antibiotics?
Antibiotics, yeah.
Oh,
He's
God.
killing them with
Okay.
antibiotics.
I'm
trying to remember the name.
They kill everything, like the good bacteria as well as the bad.
That's a problem, yeah.
All right, so here's what Dr. Gabe Merkin says. He says, Marianne Crenshaw's best-selling book claims that vinegar helps you to lose weight because oil and vinegar don't mix, and vinegar and her fat won't either. Since it contains only 2 calories per tablespoon, you can use it to lose weight only if you eat lots of vinegar and cut back on other sources of calories. Vinegar is nothing more than a mixture of 95% water and around 5% acetic acid, never been shown to prevent or treat cancer or high blood pressure. It's made from the fermentation of apples, grains, potatoes, and wines, used most commonly as a salad dressing. You can put it in a foot bath to help soften hard calluses. Because it is acidic, it prevents the growth of bacteria in a bottle. It is used as a preservative to pickle a wide variety of foods.
Mm-hmm.
However, it has not been shown to prevent infection in humans. Vinegar is an excellent and cheap cleaning agent. You can mix equal parts vinegar and water and use it to clean coffee pots, remove stains from clothing, dissolve rust spots, and wash kitchens and household surfaces. In other words, old Gabe doesn't recommend it either.
Yeah, well, again, you don't make a meal out of pickles, do you?
Oh, some people do.
I love dill pickles.
Well, yeah, but if you made a steady meal of it, it might be a different story altogether.
Yeah. And the other thing that I remember very clearly is when I was 1960, when I went to Ontario Veterinary College, I can still remember a professor, and I think it was Professor Blood. I think that was actually his last name.
Okay.
It was interesting for me to go to veterinary medicine school because it was a Professor Blood and there was a Professor David Ingram, and I got his mail and all sorts of stuff. It was good stuff.
As long as you didn't get his blood.
But I can still remember the one professor saying that acetic acid was so dangerous and don't use vinegar type of thing.
Yep.
But the reason
acetic acid's great for fixing photographs.
I've known many women who love to take their teaspoon or tablespoon of apple cider vinegar.
Yeah, in the hopes that they're going to lose weight.
But then they all seem to have thyroid problems.
Yeah.
And they all complain of chronic fatigue. And
yeah.
Fibromyalgia.
I can look at this thing and name 13, 14 women that I know of that have all the things that they're talking about here and love vinegar. And
one of the problems is that they've got adrenal insufficiency, which can adversely affect the thyroid.
But that's what he's saying that the vinegar attacks.
Yeah, and of course iodine deficiency can also be a problem.
Yeah, so it's a whole other story. And I read this and a couple of nights ago,
Actually,
and I went.
You talk about an iodine deficiency. We're trying to cut back on the amount of salt that we eat. That's where we get a major source of our iodine. Is there a
iodized salt? Yeah,
iodized salt. Is there a replacement for that?
Yeah, kelp.
So you take kelp pills.
You can take kelp pills.
Okay.
And you can go to a place like Cripps Pharmacy and ask for Lugos iodine.
Okay.
Lugos iodine, Lugos.
And then you get it without having to eat the salt.
That's right. And of course, and particularly if a person is hypothyroid, and of course, they should always check with their doctor to see what their thyroid is like.
Yep.
And then they can talk to somebody like Ed Thorpe at Cripps Pharmacy and get a good amount of valuable information about it.
Right.
Now, I didn't know that Cripps Pharmacy was still around. Where are they now?
They're on West Boulevard, about 3 blocks
I know
north
where they are.
of West 41st
Yep.
on the west side.
Yep.
I have seen them now that you say it. I forgot all about that because
And
Joan Pincus has an office
Ed's
just up there.
father-in-law, Stephen Cripps, wrote an excellent book called Thyroid Awareness, and I recommend it to everybody.
Okay, but what I just read to you about that, because this fellow here has won over 1,000 races in his life.
Mm-hmm.
He lectures all over the world. He escaped my attention, but he's one of the Earthsave directors and this type of thing. And he's gone into natural foods, whole foods, not the same way that most of the raw food people go. He's gone into mostly fruits, and you eat a lot of fruit and you get 80% of your carbohydrates from fruit and 10% from protein and 10% from fat, and has almost everybody with the book, all sorts of testimonials, and you can go on Google and find all sorts of people that have done YouTube and other things about it, and it sort of it's another one of these things that makes sense.
Well, the way I look at it is this, that you can travel around the world and see different civilizations, different cultures, and different diets. And, that saying about one man's meat can be another man's poison can certainly hold true, just like the apple cider vinegar diet,
yes.
For weight loss. And that's the problem when people get locked into these fads. And, for a long time, I was, except for eating seafood and dairy, you could say I was a vegetarian. Well, I still am more vegetarian than anything else when it comes to choices in food. And I like my vegetables, and rarely I may have some fish. Sometimes I'll have some chicken, but that's it, not very much. And I'm not a milk drinker. I like cheese.
Now, what is your ethnic background? So you were talking about the fact that, one man's poison is another man's meat.
How about my paternal grandmother was born in Austria-Hungary. The family name, as far as I could figure out, they were Czech, but she spoke Hungarian, but they didn't look like any Hungarians that I saw when I was in Hungary in 1976. I met her brothers in Ohio many, many years ago. They were tall men, fair, with gray eyes, just like my father. My dad's father, they were of northern English descent, near Scotland.
Yep.
And on my mother's side, they were Irish on both sides. And you can't get any more Irish than Green,
Yep.
That was my mother's maiden name. And but my maternal grandmother, their name was Haney. And they farmed and pioneered in western Ohio. And my great-grandfather, Haney, emigrated to Canada, selling out his farm in Ohio, and unfortunately got euchred into buying some burnt-out land in Manitoba near Carmen.
So we can basically say that you are northern white...
Caucasian.
Caucasian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this would be different, for instance, from an Eastern European or a Japanese or Chinese or Pacific Samoan or all of these different genotypes have their own.
If you're talking about Asia Minor, that's the Turks, and then you've got the Greeks and the Italians. And these people generally are darker skinned, brown eyes, and black hair.
But they more than
Northern
anything,
Europeans and Eastern Europeans, like the Poles and the Ukrainians, the Balts, and that. Then of course the Swedes. They're all blonde, tall, blue-eyed people.
Right, but the diet has followed their particular locale. Mm-hmm. So that just as we have, where they were raised, and just as we have the North American Native Indians, certainly the ones in Canada, where they would they'd end up starving for some time, and then they'd end up gorging for some
Feast or
time, a
famine.
feast and famine.
Yeah.
And that didn't seem to hurt them. In fact, that is the way that they live.
Well, they dried their salmon too out there. You could see it on the pictures that
Yep.
I've seen, and that didn't seem to hurt them any. And then, of course, the Plains Indians lived off of buffalo.
Pemmican.
And
Some
pemmican,
of the
yep.
northern tribes lived off of caribou, and the Inuit and Eskimo people, they lived off of whale
blubber
and
and-
seal meat.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's right.